Штатах достаточно регулярно проводятся опросы.
Polls are conducted quite regularly in the US, and they depend sometimes on some internal political battles that have recently intensified in this country. And issues of foreign policy are in the back seat. This may be connected with some fluctuations in support for Ukraine. As for the political factor, the bipartisan and bicameral support is in fact still in place. We can see this from statements from visits, including visits by representatives of the Republican Party to Kyiv, who come here regularly. In some issues, they are much more radical than the Democrats in terms of helping Ukraine. They are saying that more weapons should have been given to Ukraine from the very beginning. So there is no problem in this. The big problem is internal political. This is not even an American problem. It is a problem of the Republicans in general. Their party is in quite a serious crisis, and this crisis is due to the fact that the aggressive minority in this party, aggressive in political terms, does not allow any normal compromise initiatives to be implemented. And the United States of America as a country became at a certain stage even hostage to this intra-party competition. This is not even so much a question of Ukraine. It is far from the first place here. The fact that Russia is trying to disperse this thesis that support for Ukraine is falling or Americans are fighting over Ukraine, this is actually not the case. Why? Because, in fact, most congressmen and senators have a clear understanding that support for Ukraine is in line with the national interests of the United States of America. And we need to be very calm about this. It is necessary to strengthen, among other things, cooperation, inter-parliamentary diplomacy, public diplomacy when citizens, through their own channels and public organizations, can also convey the need for assistance, support and so on. By the way, we have been very good at this. We are very grateful to our diaspora, which is in the United States and which in principle takes on a significant part of this work. I think that this is how everything will end up positively. They will deal with the speaker first, then they will deal with the budget, because this is an issue for the United States, and in the budget itself or in a separate law will be adopted aid to both Ukraine and Israel, because there are two hot spots right now, and Biden has the idea to combine this aid. The likelihood of Iran entering the war is probably not big at the moment, because Iran realizes that it will definitely lead to a clash with the United States. Is Iran ready for this? Two aircraft carrier groups that were sent to the region, they can very quickly and very dramatically solve the problem. They really can. They have everything, all the means on board to do that. So Iran is likely to limit itself to some very loud statements, raising flags over Moscow's. That is, they have raised a black flag there, and that's all. For sure, they're signaling something. And of course, don't forget about setting on their proxies like the same Hamas. Perhaps Hezbollah is a different situation. They can break off at the last moment, they're still holding on. I think the anger of the IDF when they reacted to this terror and the speed with which Israel mobilized, it probably shocked Hezbollah. Obviously, they thought that maybe it would be different. Maybe someone is moving forward there, but Israel has mobilized almost 400,000 people in a day and a half, who have flown in from all over the world, and those who were in Israel have been immediately under arms and prepared to repel any attacks. So in this respect, let us hope for the most positive scenario, that everything will end in the Gaza Strip. That is, the issue will somehow be resolved there. Israel will most likely conduct a ground operation and will take control of this territory. By the way, it wouldn't be a quick operation, no matter how much one would like. There is some kind of easy walk and so on. But on the one hand, what is 360 square kilometers? It's not that much, I think even a little bit smaller than Kharkiv, but there's very dense building, there's these tunnels. So in principle, it's obviously going to take quite a long time. But this may be the the end of it. Next, there will be some kind of peace progress. In this regard, the visits of Biden and Scholz and all others to neighboring states are very important, because the position of these states actually depends on a lot of things. It's paradoxical, but look at the reaction of Jordan or Egypt, which on the one hand said we are fully on the side of Palestine, we call on Israel to stop strikes and so on and so forth. In fact, they don't support Hamas, because it's a terrorist organization, but at the same time they said, well, we're not going to let refugees in. That was the most telling story. They said, please, localize conflict on the territory where it is now. There will be no direct weapon deliveries from China to Russia. China understands perfectly well that if this becomes known, it will be impossible to speak about any normal economic relations, first of all with Western countries. Don't forget that the main markets for China are there. Therefore, Putin will do what he has already done. He will offer any conditions on Russia's part to intensify economic relations with China. They have signed some kind of agreement almost up to 2030 on food supplies and some other things. Putin now needs to sell off his country and sell off his country's resources as quickly and as extensively as possible. Here, by the way, we are not talking about profit at all, because everything that Russia is offering China, it does not compare to what they could actually earn. There was also a story with Gazprom, which announced that they have signed an agreement with China and will supply so much gas there that it will more than cover all the supplies they used to make to Europe. This is a very paradoxical situation. Putin went there just to trade the maximum of those resources in exchange for some minimal political support.